Furkan, welcome to Culture Camp.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here today.
It's lovely that you are here. We're really excited to hear about your work, your book and your game and your organisation. There's loads of good stuff in this conversation. So do you want to just start by introducing yourself?
Sure. My name is Furkan Karayel. I'm an author, lecturer, and speaker on diversity and inclusion, but my background is something completely different. I worked in tech industry for 10 big years as a software engineer before this. So 5 years ago, I made the transition to my situation today, basically what I do. And people wonder about like how and why I made this transition. One of the biggest reasons was not able to see women who look like me from different ethnic backgrounds in the leadership positions of big tech companies was a very big frustration. The second reason was, Carrie, that diversity, inclusion, culture, belonging, these words are being used as a marketing tool. But sometimes the real action and authentic voices are being missing from these talks. So this was another frustration. And lastly, I had some managers who didn't know how to deal with me. As a result, I said, why not? I start something. It's going to be different. So it is where I am today.
Well, I love the startup energy and definitely building something that's not there already because you need it and you want to see it is, I think, the best way to start. So what does your life look like now?
I'm giving a lot of keynote talks for conferences for organizational corporate communication. And I am playing a game with different organizations groups or leaders or employee resource groups. And I am active in the space for women in tech, women in leadership. And on the other side, I like to travel. I'm based in Dublin normally, but I'm today in Gothenburg in Sweden. I'm here for work, but I love traveling and getting to know different cultures as well. That is always learning process for me that never stops.
Yeah. So the thing that you mentioned there about marketing, I think that's a really interesting kind of angle on this idea of organizational culture and how we create it, because it's got to be in the actions as well as the words, and the way that we set ourselves up to make decisions, to how we spend our time. I wonder if there's any kind of indicators of a culture that goes beyond just the words that you've noticed.
First of all, one of the biggest things I see as an example is only considering diversity is a gender equality. And not going beyond it is one of the things that I often hear and see as well, that we are going to sort out the gender, then we are going to move into race and ethnicity. So my view on diversity and inclusion is holistic. So you don't work on I'm finished with one aspect of it, then I'm starting on another thing, because thinking of intersectionality, it doesn't only end with gender, and it doesn't work like let's fix this afterwards mindset. And so that is being the main focus on educating the organizations that looking at it in a holistic way that is going to be more impactful.
Yeah, that brilliant thing. We do some work around whole systems thinking and helping people to look at tackling specific issues through the whole organization. So looking at the processes, the practices, the values, the behaviors, all of the kind of elements that make up this idea of a culture. But I know that you talk about cultural wisdom. I wonder if you could unpack that a little bit for us.
Thank you for mentioning this. No problem. So we get an opportunity to work with global leaders, Carrie, and we have seen that some leaders were really good at inclusion, comparing to other leaders. And these leaders don't know each other. They do different jobs. They are from different locations and backgrounds and everything.
Okay.
So we have seen the leaders, inclusive leaders, that these 6 skills in common. They were self-awareness, empathy, engagement, cultural wisdom, accountability, and commitment. So this is one of the biggest pillars on my book, Inclusive Intelligence, where inclusive leaders are doing strongly in building that inclusive workplace. So cultural wisdom, many of us have heard cultural intelligence. So cultural intelligence is ability to function and work across different cultures effectively, whereas in cultural wisdom, what I mean is, again, ability to work across different cultures effectively without stereotyping and microaggressions. Because the more we get exposed to different cultures, unfortunately, our brain is trying to categorize people into stereotyping, putting them into the same box. Because we have learned about one particular culture, about a person, and then next time we see somebody from there, we categorize it like as if they would have the same perspective of life or preferences, and you name it. And I give this example to many people. For example, my sister looks like so much looks like me. We are born to the same family. We went to the same school, born in the same town, and etc. But we are a completely different people. And I would like to encourage the listeners to think of your siblings as well, or people who maybe look like you. Are you the same people? Really? So it is like this. And the cultural wisdom means seeing everyone like our fingerprints. We are all unique, and accepting the fact that our preferences and who we are is not only equal to our background culture. We are more complicated than that. And we are like our fingerprints, and our personality, our individuality, and as a person needs to be recognized as unique as well and respected as unique. It is not only about the background culture that we carry on. Yes, it has an impact, the society, the culture that we have grown, the family and everything, but it doesn't necessarily 100% defines us, and we can't treat the people just because they come from X country, they prefer this, or this is who they are. So cultural wisdom means accepting everyone as unique and respecting them as a unique piece in the society.
And I guess that it has to go beyond principles then. As a principle, that sounds perfect. That sounds very inclusive. That sounds like the society that we probably want to be part of. But maybe that's where your pillar around accountability also kind of plays its part, because like you said about your own experience and traveling to other countries for work, but also consistently learning and I guess reevaluating your own perspectives.
Yes, we all grow up with some biases of type, and we develop things every single day. We learn, unlearn things. But having that, I call it vulnerability door, having that self-awareness and vulnerability door open, we give ourselves the power of change. Yes, we can change, we can learn, we can unlearn things. If that door is open, that means that, we are not likely to change. And this is against cultural wisdom, against, inclusive mindset, because it is all about learnability and how we reflect on our learnings. Doesn't necessarily mean somebody who knows how to behave will behave and in an inclusive way. So it's all about how to translate that and get it into our day-to-day work and agenda. What does it mean to be an inclusive leader for example, as a marketing manager? What does it mean to be an inclusive sales manager? What does it mean to be an inclusive a HR manager
Mm.
or an employee or
Yeah.
a graduate engineer. And so it's translating that, and it needs us. It's not like somebody's gonna tell us this is who you are, this is what an
Yeah.
HR is. So nobody's gonna tell us this, but it is about finding that relating to what we have learned and who we are, and obviously knowing our own personality, the core
Yeah.
values and everything, so that we can translate authentically
Mm.
into an inclusive behavior. And the most important learning for us, Kerry, in that
Mm.
assignment was every inclusive leader lives those 6 skills authentically. So
Yeah.
it's not that I copy and do this like the other person is doing. It's
Mm-hmm.
about like, okay, what does it mean to me now? How can I
Yeah.
behave in that situation? How can I make my team an inclusive team and welcoming team for everybody? It's a
Mm.
constant thing, is a constant learning process that is, accepted that there will be mistakes, there will be challenges, but it is not, giving up from that I made a mistake, so I stopped the
Yeah.
communication completely.
Yeah. And I imagine in organizations that that their culture is maybe quite stark and quite right or wrong, that becomes a bit harder. And just as you were speaking, I was thinking of some work that we've been doing with the NHS in primary care, so in doctors, GP general practice. And a kind of light bulb moment that I had a couple of days ago around the work that we're trying to do is about bringing together doctors and clinical staff with other types of staff in the organization and patients to co-design, collaborate. And we were talking about why this can be difficult for clinical staff. And somebody shared a perspective that actually the way that clinical staff are taught, the way they work, they diagnose things. So they go, is this right or wrong? It's right. Is this right or wrong? It's right. Almost like a flowchart of diagnostics, which I guess maybe in the tech world as well, there's some parallels there as well. That actually makes it harder to do this kind of continuous reflection and reevaluating. So I wonder if you've got any perspectives around that.
Mm-hmm. In the diverse inclusion mindset, there's actually no black or white, and there's a whole spectrum of what could have been better, what could have been worse.
Yeah.
So it's thinking of it as a spectrum. There's always a space to grow, and I try to give this to the leaders that I work with, is like, you won't be, by doing this, maybe your intention was right, yes, but the action piece wasn't inclusive. So how do we translate that? Yes, without saying that you have done it completely wrong, but they tried it, they couldn't make it right. Giving them the perspective that, it's a squiggly path, it's not a straight path, but it shouldn't stop you from trying, maybe reflecting on what can I learn from this mistake, and who can actually give me a good feedback, how can I get a feedback, and seeing it as like, how can I make a better and better decision each time, and more inclusive decision each time, because it's, if you think of it like right or wrong, the motivation to keep going, if we make a couple of wrongs, is not really motivating us. And people don't really like to how to say, it's lack of motivation to keep going if it is fail and fail each time. And
it's so interesting thinking about the kind of dynamics of an organization and how those might naturally play into work around inclusive environments, inclusive cultures, or not. And I think you're right around the self-awareness. It's got to maybe start with your own personal reflections on yourself and your own perspectives. I'm wondering, I've heard about this game, and I want to hear more about the game that you've developed, because I think finding these different innovative ways to work with organizations can really unlock some powerful stuff. So tell us all about it.
Sure. We designed an inclusive intelligence challenge game. So what it is, we talked about the 6 pillars, and we ask each group, it's a group interaction game. So we ask each group to choose a color from, which is basically this, self-awareness, so empathy, and accountability, cultural wisdom. So from each, they take a question, and then we give them some time to discuss the scenarios, the situations there. Before they come into that stage, they would have gathered some collective ideas and have thought about the situation, so that they can actually bring more thought into their actions. So it's a fun game, and this is the cultural wisdom card. And I'd like to ask the audience here if they would like to take away one question from the cultural wisdom card today.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So this question says, you were just appointed to lead a multinational team of 10. What would be your initial action and why?
Interesting. And so is there ever conflict in the groups when they're discussing these ideas? Do people have opposing views, and do you work with them to try and find consensus?
We are starting the game with initial trials now. We are receiving some feedbacks. We are in that like beta testing stage. So far has been really positive, because people get an opinion to hear about what others are actually thinking about this while they are reviewing their own ideas. And for example, one person's first action is different than another person's first action in this scenario, for example. And then it's making them also think like, okay, now would I change my first action? Which one would be the priority for my team? Because there's no one size or answer fits all. And considering about, in my current team scenario, which one would be a better and high priority action is something that we listen from each person in the team and collect some ideas. It's really fun to learn from each other.
Yeah, and what I love about this is that through the game, you're kind of setting people up to model the sorts of behaviors that are really useful within this work. So listening to each other, considering your own context, seeing different perspectives, making new decisions maybe, or reevaluating. I love it.
Absolutely. That is all to ignite that enlightenment about that topic or scenario in that situation. It's very powerful. The asking the right questions with open-ended, scenarios is really powerful.
Yeah. And can people buy the game, or how do we find out more about it?
We can all find out about it on DiverseIn.com website. And we are not selling the game yet. Now we are facilitating and collecting some feedbacks. How do we make it facilitated even more better and effectively? So maybe in the future we might start selling the game. But if you would like, anybody who would like to play this game, give it a try, and you can reach out to us, and we would be happy to do it either virtually or in person.
Lovely. And do you have a mailing list? Maybe it would be best if people jump on your mailing list, and then they can find out as soon as it's available.
That would be great. It's on our website, at DiverseIn.com website. There's a subscribe button so that people get the news about it.
Amazing. Well, I'm going to subscribe now. And
Great.
it's been fantastic talking to you. Really interesting work. Really interesting reflecting on some of the work that I'm doing as well in this with this perspective. And I think I might try and arrange another chat with you about the game. So thank you very much.
Wonderful.
It's been lovely
Thank
meeting
you so much. It's been a pleasure meeting you. And thanks everyone for listening. Have a good day.
Bye for now.